No, and I'm looking forward to the next one. It's a little too difficult for my office to provide food when we're doing it outside of the City Hall. So unfortunately, we can't do that. But thank you guys for.
Oh no, we totally understood the off-site thing, and we would take care of it. But we don't go hungry. Who's going to provide the food? We'll find a way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I only have a couple updates. I wanted to start with one because over the weekend, I don't know if anybody was able to attend. I wasn't able to. The Parks Department. Well, the Parks Department, or the Anti-Graffiti Program, awarded the residents of Council District 3 this year as the 2015 Anti-Graffiti Service Group of the Year, awarded to the residents of Council District 3 with gratitude and appreciation for outstanding service to the Anti-Graffiti Program, City of San Jose Parks Rec and Neighborhood Services Division. And we had, when we were initially told this, we were like, well, that's kind of difficult, because they said they wanted somebody from our office to receive it, because it's kind of hard to give it to all the residents of District 3. And we said, oh wow, are you sure? Was there a particular neighborhood or group? And they said, no. Specifically, with the volunteerism and the support that we've had from the residents in your district, they said, this is who we want to award it to this year, so it's got to be your office coming and receiving your form. So we got this over the weekend, and it proudly sits on my shelf up on the 18th floor. So sorry that I own it, but but you can come in and proudly see it, and it'll stay within the District 3 office, as all the awards and trophies and stuff actually do stay within the offices. So congratulations to all of you and anybody that's had really an input and helped out, whether it's using the Clean app, San Jose Clean app, or yourself becoming a volunteer and getting the clean buckets and the anti-graffiti spray, all of that, and just participating in trying to keep our walls, our streets, fences, and trying to keep those clean and graffiti free. So thank you.
Yay. I don't know if you can take a picture of it.
Oh yeah, please.
To show it, or
maybe
I take a picture of you with it. I want to take a picture. I can take a picture already.
And then just brief updates. One, in case you were following in the news, we did come to terms on a pension settlement, and now a memorandum of agreement, or basically a wage deal with our police officers. It was a long time coming. Certainly one of the things that I, on my campaign, ran on, that's saying, we have to get over this hurdle, and made it a focus of mine, a primary focus of mine, these first 7 months, working what I think our last council had a difficult time doing, which was collaboratively. And so that's where I think that made the big difference, is the new council has come in and really tried to collaborate, and then we also obviously reached out to the bargaining units of our police officers, our firefighters, and they weren't easy discussions. It certainly took a long time, but we got there. And so we did have to delay that vote yesterday due to our sunshine rules, which is essentially we need to notify the public in regards to these votes that we're having in a timely manner. We ended up, obviously this was a quick deal that we ended up finalizing last Friday. And so the police officers did have a chance to vote on it over the weekend. They ratified it by 90%, 90 to 10. So, which is great. So it's not just something that council feels is good to move forward. It's something that our bargaining units feel is good to move forward. We will vote on it. It'll be on the agenda next Tuesday, and hopefully that'll be the end of that conversation, and the ship will have turned, and we can start to rebuild our police department that certainly we all know that we need. And I'm looking forward to those days ahead. So very, very good news in that regard.
Can I add one thing, Councilman?
Yeah, please.
So, because of the leadership from Mayor Liccardo and Councilmember Peralez, we've already had phone calls from officers. It's not even in place yet, and we've already had officers who left the department who've already called us and asked to return. So it is a true blessing. And I can hopefully start going to meetings and talking about police work instead about pensions. So I'm so thankful.
Yeah, one of the things that we added in, part of the deal was a 5% bonus for essentially it's a retention bonus for officers that either have stayed through this all or were thinking about leaving, and so we wanted to retain them. But we extended it a little further, and what we said is we will offer this bonus as a rehire bonus so the same 5% to officers that are former San Jose officers that come back. So it won't be for just new hires, but for any former officers, this is a nice little 5% kind of hiring bonus or rehiring bonus. So just we were able to add in that, and I'm hoping that does incentivize some officers that left to come back. You have a question?
Is that 5% of their annual salary that they're giving?
5% of their annual salary is the bonus, and it's a one-time, it's kind of it's like a bonus check.
And ma'am, when you...
It's 2.5% next month, I believe, and then 2.5% in December. And then there is what we call like a clawback clause, which is if anybody leaves within a year after that, before the contract is complete, then they have to give the bonus back. So it really is retention. It's about officers that are staying here. We don't want to give that to somebody who a month later is really on their way out. So we've covered all the bases, had our heads on right, and that's what collaboration does, quite honestly, right? Is I'm not going to know every idea, and the person next to me is not going to know every idea. But if we're sitting there and working collaboratively, I think then that's when we come up with really good solutions. So that's what I think we have, and I'm happy to hear, LT, that we have officers that are interested in coming back, because that's really, we lost some really great officers, and so I look forward to having them come back and done with that conversation.
Can I?
Yeah.
Is it Officer LT?
Lieutenant.
Yes.
Rick. Well, I should know that. My dad was a Major in the Marine Corps.
Rick, yeah.
I'm just curious, those that have called you, are they dissatisfied with where they are, having been away now for a while?
Well, I left the department in 1996 after being here 6 years, and I was in the gang unit. I was having a great time, and I left and I worked for the federal government for 2 years, and I came back because there really is no place like San Jose PD. Some people went to smaller agencies for the money. Some people left the profession altogether, and you really get hooked. And I'm sure the council member would agree with me. Police work's a great job, but it's different in San Jose. Our officers have a lot of autonomy. When someone calls me up and tells me that there's an abandoned truck in a parking lot, they don't have to call and ask a sergeant or a lieutenant for permission to solve that problem. We empower officers to solve those problems, and that doesn't happen everywhere. So I think that is why they're coming back, because they realize the grass isn't always greener. Now that we have a positive relationship with council, and hopefully again with the residents, they're going to come back home.
It's always nice to know what other counties, as far as why they might leave that job and what San Jose offers as far as police.
One of the big things too was just competitiveness, right, on wage and pension. So some people felt, to the point of where they're going to lose their house, or those sort of really dire circumstances, felt the need or the necessity to have to switch, jobs, essentially go to another city. And I think they always had in their mind, if San Jose was to become competitive again, I might look at coming back. And so some of it's just basic competitiveness. But definitely, we've always, here in San Jose, had officers willing to accept less pay, and maybe not as fruitful when it comes to money or pension, because of the city and really the work that it provides, the kind of department that it's been. But that's definitely good news, and I think it's going to be good for everybody to be done with that conversation. So there's still going to be more to come on that, because no matter what, we have to go back to the ballot next year with something that supersedes Measure B. So, which was the ballot measure on pensions that we have put forth. It has been this whole contentious issue. So no matter what, we're going to be coming back to you as voters and asking for your support. The difference here this time is we're going to be hand in hand with the unions. So we're going to be saying here we've agreed that this is a better direction. And so hopefully that passes easily with voters, but that'll be something that we're going to be coming to all of you in the future as the election season comes up, and that'll probably be it will have to be the November election. So that it's not fully dead, but for the most part we are beyond that. The other major discussion that I wanted to have, because I know that we haven't had that just yet, and this was on housing and homelessness. We talked a little bit we have the subcommittee here within this group, which is Kathy Sutherland, Tina Morrill, Don Gagliardi, and
That might be it.
Lovey?
was Lovey? I
think it's just those three.
I think it's just those three. And so we briefly with Kathy, I think a couple meetings ago, did a little update on what we had been working on, and then we wanted to come back and do a more complete update, but I don't see any of them here today. So hopefully we will have that in the future. But nevertheless, obviously we're not waiting. We've been working on this since day one as well. And there's a number of different avenues we're trying to address. The county is certainly stepping up a lot more now. They have the county task force, and they've directed a lot of money now to try to address this problem from their end. They're trying to get more affordable units being built, but they're still not going to be able to solve the full problem. So it's going to really take a little bit of everybody's help. So we are still working on a number of things here at the city, and specifically what I'm advocating for within District 3 is the same thing that we need to do all over the county and all over the region. Is we need to own some of this issue. We need to own the residents that are homeless within District 3 that no matter what are not going to leave District 3. We're not going to just be able to move the problem aside. And so we're talking about the revamping of the Plaza Hotel, which is in downtown. So this is one of the ideas that came up from Sam actually a couple years, maybe a year and a half or so ago, on taking unused hotel or motels and converting them into short-term temporary housing. This will probably be the first one that we'll be able to do in the city. It hasn't been easy. We're still sort of struggling. And this main issue always comes up, which is the acronym of NIMBYism, right? The not in my backyard. And that's going to happen anywhere, right? If we were going to put something that wasn't desirable next to your house, you'd probably speak up and say, I don't know if I want that, right? So that's unavoidable, quite frankly, right? No matter where you go with something that could be non-desirable. What we're finding with the Plaza Hotel is really just the development in the area, and the developers afraid of investment or afraid of stalling development. And so we're working with and dealing with those issues, but something that I think is certainly we can come to compromise and work past. We're looking at this as a short-term, temporary housing. We're looking at it as individuals that are sort of on that verge of, if I were able to get up and get on my feet or get a stable place to live, then I could probably get a job and then be self-sufficient. So it's one piece of the pie that we're trying to resolve with that development. And then there's another one, so I don't know if you have a question on that one, but I'll talk about that one.
Yeah, you said temporary, and I'm really glad they're doing this. I'm just wondering about temporary. Does it mean several years that they need to use this facility? I realize that people may change, but something like that. What do you have a window of that?
So the temporary actually probably really is two reasons. One would be it would be temporary stay for the individuals that are there, because the idea would be a year, 2 years that they would need to get back on their feet, maybe even shorter for some people. Temporary for them, and also temporary for the facility. So we're not purchasing this property as a long-term, permanent housing solution. So our vision on the future is probably that within 5 to 10 years, this will be bought and sold and demolished and turned into something else. So that's the other temporary, is that's probably not always going to be there for this purpose. But that leads me to the next part, which is there will be something there permanently within District 3, and I'll come to you in a moment. And that is the fully supportive housing complex that will house probably about 100 formerly homeless individuals that will be within District 3. And so that will be a permanent supportive housing unit. And that one there won't be going anywhere anytime soon. And that will always be the inability for people to come in and cycle in and out of. Because as we know, we're never going to eradicate homelessness, right? I mean, those individuals that we may be able to house this year, even if we can house them all, next year, somebody's going to be homeless again, right? It's inevitable, so we always sort of need a solution for that. And that's what this permanent project will be. But this project is probably going to take 5 years to even get up.
City project?
This is a city project, yeah. So this will take us probably about 5 years to get up and running. So that's why we need some interim solutions, and that's what the Plaza Hotel can be for us as well. So
where's the Plaza Hotel exactly, and how many units?
40 units?
Or less.
40 or less, and it's right next to the Greyhound. the Greyhound station downtown.
Are these units for single people or are they
Single occupancy units. Single occupancy.
Have they thought about what to do with the families?
For this particular spot, no. For the most part, from what I've been told, the Plaza Hotel was really all like a motel with single rooms, right? For and
Will
that's.
they be allowing animals? Their dogs and stuff?
I don't know if they'll be allowing animals, to be honest. But that's a really good question. So that's something that we can certainly follow up with and find out. I don't know, Jean, if you have that.
I don't. If you know Abode Services, they're a nonprofit that's been hired by the city to facilitate the case management in support of the residents. So I think they'll be working with stakeholders to develop those policies in the next year or so.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this, at the earliest, this can be up and running, renovated by next summer. And that's probably the quickest housing.
So not for the winter, huh?
No, this is probably the quickest housing we could get here in San Jose. Believe it or not. I mean, that's how long it takes. Because even if we were to build brand new units, those take a while. So one of the other things too we're working on, and this is coming from the county as well as within the city, and Sam has proposed this, and we're trying to look at it, is safe parking lots. So we had a lot of individuals at the Jungle that lived out of their cars, and they're still living out of their cars. They're just doing it in different places. I myself am not a fan of legalizing encampments, which is like what we've seen, and there's plenty of history to back up that the encampments that have been legalized have failed, and they've turned into what our jungle was, which is crime-ridden, dangerous locations, full of trash, and so they become very, very, very hard to manage. So I'm not a fan of going to that extent. But are there some other avenues, which this is one of them, is safe parking that we can monitor a little easier with proper sanitation, areas. And so that's something that we're another thing that we're looking into, and that could be a shorter term solution as well. So more of that to come, but definitely we know it's obviously still one of the main issues that we're facing here, and so.
Okay, so for questions, we have Richard and then Bob, and then if there's some other hands I didn't see.
Safe parking, how many spots are going to allow?
None of that. This is literally like a scratching the surface right now of this conversation. So none of that conversation has been had. Yeah, we've essentially asked our housing department to begin looking into that. So
it's been a year that I've been hearing about safe parking.
Yeah, well, and that was just same thing like the motel hotel conversions. All of these start off with conversations. So kind of like an idea and then a conversation. But none of the work actually starts until council directs staff to start working on it. Because then what that is that's using your money, your taxpayer dollars that pay the housing department to tell them to work on that. Yeah. So that's kind of, so when the conversation actually starts to the point when the work begins, it could take a long time.
Are they looking at the other side of their coin? And that is, having observed many of these people over the years, throwing a whole bunch of them together in a building without proper chaperoning would be chaos. And one of our kids is right now was homeless for a while, and he's actually gone through the Salvation Army and the City Team thing, where they got people who act as mentors and all that stuff. Is that being mixed in?
Absolutely, yeah. Great question too. So both with the Plaza Hotel, that's what Abode Services provides. That's what they do. They do and offer the supportive services that these individuals may need, from drug or alcohol addiction, mental illness, to just job training, finding a job, applying. Those services will be provided as part of the package. So it's actually, for us, that's a mandatory part of the package. Same thing with the fully supportive complex, and who's the partners? Path.
Mm-hmm.
People assisting the homeless, I think, right?
Like that, yeah.
People acting in community.
No,
Path.
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 Path. I think it's people assisting the homeless.
I think that might be right.
So, and that's that organization that will be teaming up with the developer. In fact, they're already teamed up with the developer. Mm-hmm. So when we put out the RFQ, it was for two things. It was one for a developer and two for the supportive services. So it's they had to come together. So yeah, absolutely, we're doing that hand in hand. No more questions?
Oh, sorry, I thought I said. Any other questions on any of the updates from the council member? Okay, any
Do you want to say
any
something
final
about Bart?
comments?
The Bart
Oh, Bart, yeah,
amendment?
Bart, real quick. In case anybody had heard the rumblings that maybe Bart was investigating a different model of potentially going over 101, I think is what it was, right? It was going over 101 and maybe shifting where the station was going to be a little bit. They brought that up in front of the community. I don't know if anybody was here at the meeting. A couple, yeah. And Gene was there, and we just got an email yesterday or today. They heard the community and they completely shot down that idea. So that's not being investigated anymore. They're sticking with their initial thought plan, and they even mentioned although this alternative option is cheaper, and that's kind of where they were going with it. It's not where they're going to go because they've heard that that's not the interest.
Well, in actuality, in the discussions, it became clear that it potentially could be cheaper, but there were a lot of issues that were raised that implied that it might actually be just as expensive, if not more expensive.
Well,
so
and it's shot down now.
That was part of the leverage that we used to get it to shut down.
Yeah. Well, thank you too for advocating, and I was happy with that conclusion as well.
Okay, well, I think we had a great turnout for an off-site meeting, so
Yeah.
thank you everyone for coming. There's some new faces, and I keep losing track of that darn clipboard.
It's right here, Joan, on the table.
So I know that there's a few people that joined us after, so if you wouldn't mind please signing up, we really do love to keep track of who comes to our meetings. And as always, I'll be sending out a reminder a couple of weeks before the next tour, and then a week ahead you'll get an agenda. So Dario and Ramona will work together to get that information out. So I think we can officially adjourn. When we're at City Hall, usually the council member and staff kind of hang around a little bit. And I think with a crowd like this, just our saying goodbyes will take us probably 15 minutes anyway. So, you know, I'm going to say thank you again for coming, and we are adjourned.